Hey guys, thought I would start a little bit early because this is the first time I've done something like this. There are a lot of I'll just say moving parts. So I wanted to start it just before we started the top of the hour, just to make sure that it didn't explode and everything turns to dust. And no, Brian, you're not chopped liver. So this is the first session of this type that I've done. Um, I want to first off, I want to let's see where to even begin. There's just so let me. I'm just going to take a moment and get all the technical mishmash out of my brain, um, and and that way I'll be able to focus fully on everything else. So as of right now, um, every live stream that I've done has been a one-way stream. That is, me. Maybe I'll have somebody on with me, like I did a stream with Network Chuck a little while back, and we'll do a two-person thing. But again, it's just us talking. And the only way that we can interact with people is through the chat, which is just, I mean, sometimes we'll have 700 people in there at a time, and it's just flying by, and you can't see half of what's being written and things like that. And I thought, I'm dying to connect with people via the web, via a live stream, and literally have people jump on and have conversations. So the last live stream that I did was on Ccna. It was, here's the new exam. Let's talk about it. Let's think about it. And the whole thing ended up going to where it's like, okay, so if you get your Ccna, now what? How do you get a job? How do you go after that? And so I thought, well, let's, it's been, I mean, decades since I've actually posted for a job and said, let's go there. I've kind of lived vicariously through a lot of students that I've had and seen what's worked for them. That's where I thought, well, I'd much rather talk with you. Either you have a job and you're like, here's, and when I say a job, I mean a job in technology. You have a job going the direction you want to go, and you want to share. You're like, here's what works for me, and I'd really recommend doing that. That would be like liquid gold. But also, if you're looking for a job, I mean, tell us what, it's not so much. So as of right now, actually, until the coronavirus, we lived in the best economic times in I would say the history of our nation, and oftentimes it's the history of the world, where literally there are way more jobs out there than there are people. So it's not the fact that companies aren't looking for people. It's not like we're in a depression, although we'll see what happens with the coronavirus. It's more so, how do you get noticed to the company? How do you get the company to see you amongst the tens to hundreds to thousands of other people that are applying for that job? And that's what I want to discuss. And I want to do this as a collaborative thing, without it turning to chaos. And that's where I'm like, okay, this will be my best stab at it. So what I was thinking, so we're divided into two different worlds. Over here on this monitor, just so you can see what I'm looking at, I've got my world of YouTube, where we have a number of people that are active, and I have the chat pulled up over there of the people that are there. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, totally fine. You are going to be kind of a listen only sort of thing. You can interact through the chat, and I'll try every now and then to glance over here and see if I can catch any of the chats. But right up here, as I'm staring at you, like Steve, Eric, and Chris, that I see across the top smiling at me right now. What's up? So I can see you four, but there's 22 other people that are also in here as well. What I was thinking is, so here's the question. I'm going to pose the question, and if you wanted to jump on and let's just talk. And honestly, I've got my notebook right here because I plan to turn whatever comes of this into a whole bunch of stuff that will be good for a whole bunch of people, by the time it's said and done. But let's just talk. And here's the question: how do you get a company to see you? Like, what has worked for you? What has not worked for you? And the role that I'll play is, number one, a facilitator. I'm mainly here to listen and offer my thoughts. I can also offer the role of an employer. Some of you know I started a company about 10 years ago. It's up to about 32 people. which is pretty decent. It's sizable, and I've gone through a ton of interviews, and I know the interviews that I look for, and what stands out to me, and the resumes that I bring in, and but I'm also very different, and I can share that once we get going, so I can give you that perspective. But so what I was thinking is, we perfect. So Eric, you did exactly what I was hoping someone would do. In the chat of, I've got the Zoom chat that I'm staring at right here on the monitor behind the camera. And I would love to, if you want to jump on and jump into the conversation with me, and let's talk. I would love to just, chat something in and be like, hey, I'd love to jump on, and we can go from there. Sound good? Sound good. Cool. Of course it sounds good. I'm the only one talking right now. Perfect. Good. Hi to all you guys on YouTube. We're up to 52 folks that have tuned in there. So first one, I'm gonna take Eric, who is bold. Jump in there. Eric, you are, man, this is kind of like a radio show. I'm almost like a DJ right now. So Eric, you're unmuted. You said you're in a unique situation right now. Tell me what's going on. And Eric, if you're talking, I can't hear you right now. So you might be, hang on, Eric, hang on, I'm unmuting you right now. Maybe.
What's up, Jeremy? Can you hear me, sir?
Oh, perfect. I can hear you now, and I think everybody else can hear you as well. So great. Tell me what's going on.
All right, guys. So here's my little tech journey. I kind of got lucky when I got into technology. I was about 21 years old. I got an internship for a company called Vitamix. They make blenders. They're like Ninja's, I guess you'd say, #1 competitor. So I got an internship. It was a help desk internship. So I was mainly bridging the gap between second and third shift. So it was kind of like a slow time in the wild, wild west. So I kind of just started getting my hands on everything. I was doing like password resets and, just basic troubleshooting on hardware and stuff on laptops and desktops. And then the company started to realize that, I was holding some value. So they offered me a first time level 1 position in the service desk. Mm-hmm. So I worked my way up from there, did more hardware stuff, started experiencing the real world of IT, got promoted to tier 2. So then this is when I kind of started running into Jeremy's videos on CBT Nuggets, and I started investing in there. And then, my CCNA has always been a goal. So I finally took initiative to find time every day after work to study. I found the initiative to take tips and, start talking to the network guys here at Vitamix. And then we kind of had some talent slip off the side of the edge. People start leaving, like any other company goes through that growth situation where people start leaving, they start getting better offers other places. Yeah. So anyways, to sum it up, sorry for going on a tangent, but to sum it up, they knew that I wanted to join infrastructure, especially doing network stuff. And they had a network admin role open. It's kind of like a converged systems, whatnot. They kind of built a position for me. I got the job. There wasn't much competition as they wanted to hire internally. So I worked my way up to the service desk, got the position in infrastructure, and then, I finally set my test date to get my CCNA, and I got the CCENT actually last April, and then I got my CCNA in August, so there was about a 4-month gap. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Network Chuck and Jeremy. Those two dudes are literally life changers. I mean, they're awesome. So right now, the situation I'm in, long story short, I totally outgrown this position. I mean, it's amazing when you go through the service desk and you see the world of infrastructure, how fast you can grow, especially when you get your CCNA. And I told my boss I was going to get my CCNA, and, he said, great, let's see what we can do with that. So here I am, totally think that I outgrow this position, and I have my CCNA, and I just don't know where to go anymore. So up to about 2 weeks ago, I have actually many friends in Northeast Ohio. I'm actually in Cleveland. Shout out to my Cleveland friends. But I have a lot of friends that are in network gigs here, and they've been trying to help me out. So about 2 weeks ago, they told me to find a recruiter. So technically, as of right now, I'm going through a tech recruiter trying to find actually network engineer and network administrator roles. And this is not just for a pay bump. This is mainly to help my self growth and my personal career.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm going into work every day, and it's kind of miserable because I'm not learning anything, and many of the tech mentors that were once here are no longer here.
Yeah.
So
So first off, you said you're in a unique situation, which believe it or not, Eric, you're kind of following the path that a lot of people go. So Brian chatted in, and by the way, Brian McCann and I go way back. We used to teach together back 20 years ago. He ended up going to Intel and becoming a superstar over there. He manages a whole group of people. So listen to that guy. He's hugely insightful on that. But Eric, you follow what I would call the traditional path into networking, and now you're at a place right now where you potentially have outgrown your company. And what I mean by that is you started, and so you started on the help desk. You became a rock star. They're like, okay, this guy's pretty good. He's insightful. He clicks. Now, I'm going to stop right there and say not everybody does that, and it's not. I'm not downing people at all. There's a lot of people that go to the help desk. They find their niche, and they're like, okay, I'm working the 8 to 5, and I am a-okay doing, we'll say desktop, laptop support, which is where you started, or on your first promotion up to a server administrator. You're like, okay, this is good. I like this. I'm enjoying myself. You're one of the people that are like, I need more. You hunger after new things, and you don't like being stale, which is another type of personality. For myself, I'm kind of that way as well. So I can connect right there with you. So at the place you're at right now. So first off, for everybody that's here with us right now, I want to say that's probably the most common way that people end up in a career in networking or advanced technology is you start from position X and you're a rock star. Like you start owning desktop, laptop support, and you're like, this is great. And then you go up really quick. Now, Eric, quick question for you. Did Vitamix ask you to get your CCNA, or did you do that on your own?
Vitamix did not ask me to get my CCNA. It's always been a goal to me, and that's kind of the route I wanted to go. Actually, I kind of got lucky as well because we do a lot of consulting. Like we pull a lot of contractors in, and we got an offshore employee who was a CCIE in Australia. So he came in, and as soon as he came in, he was whiteboarding things for me every day, like after hours. Yeah. I was putting in like 14-hour days with him, and like, I mean, I just got like extremely lucky. But now I'm at the point where it's just like, I feel like the next step for me is if I don't get my CCNP, I'm going to be stuck here. And I just don't like to waste time, I'm 26 right now, and I don't want to burn any more daylight.
Sure. So here's what I would suggest for you. And I would love to hear if anybody else, again, this is collaborative. So chat it in there. And obviously I see some people that are just like, hey, just happy to be here. And that's fine. I'll give you, so Eric, what I would do if I were you, it's kind of right along what Brian would say is go to your manager and just, and you may have done this already, but just be like, hey, I'm really looking to grow, and I'm kind of, like, do you see other opportunities here for me to grow into, like new frontiers? Is there something that Vitamix needs? And I know who Vitamix is. They're a pretty sizable group. But the answer may be no. If the answer is yeah, then kind of see if your interests align. Like, maybe Vitamix is like, hey, we're going to AWS or whatever. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Let me dive into that world. But if you want to stay networking and they're like, hey, you've capped out, that's where, right now you're what you said a moment ago. Okay, I've got my CCNA, but I got to get my CCNP because otherwise no one will hire me. That's not true. You with your experience and your hunger and your aptitude are golden material for a lot of companies. So unlike where you started, which is, you kind of started on the help desk, you progressed quickly, which is what typically happens in technology. You now have a ton, at least in terms of industry standards, a ton of experience under your belt. Like, you can now begin posting to other companies and that's why I'm always like, don't, Vitamix got you your start. So don't burn them if you don't have to, but it'd be, have a conversation with them first. But if you truly realize, okay, I'm capped out here, what's the next adventure? That's where you Like people will look at you because you have a certification and you have experience. A CCNP won't hurt. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that right now you can already start posting, and I think you'll be well on your way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, sure. And then I'll jump into, by the way, chat in if you want to jump on next. And I'd love to get whoever would like to jump on next queued up. So yeah, Eric, go ahead.
Hey guys, sorry. Thanks for letting me go on my soapbox. So I think a lot of people are gonna run into this as well, especially when you're looking for strictly networking jobs. I do a lot of VMware stuff. I do some server stuff. I'm kind of the jack of all trades here because we're such a small group.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of networking jobs, especially what I've been looking for, they're like hands down, they want like 5 to 7 years in strictly network engineer experience, which is like especially if you're younger and you're kind of fresh to the field, that's almost like unobtainable.
Yeah. And I will say they're lying. What I mean by that is organizations try to screen their templates. And by the way, William, you're next up. And by the way, I just checked YouTube, and Jason, like your situation, Eric, is exactly where other people are. They're like, this is exactly where I am. What do I do? When you see all these other places that are like 5 to 7 years, this is where I think you can start using those skills of networking. And I guarantee you, we'll talk about those as we're continuing this. But if you can start, connecting, like LinkedIn is the golden orb, if you will, of business networking, to where if you can start creating this profile, throw your experience up there, and start reaching out to people in the organization that you're looking for. And you can when you connect with somebody, they give you the chance to write them a message. That's where you can be like, hey, just really interested in working with your company. Curious if you could tell me a little bit about what it's like there, or something like that. It's some connect, not maybe not necessarily with the manager first, although that might be great, but just like the guy who mentored you, there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, this dude seems cool. He'll look at your profile. So make sure you have an awesome looking profile, right? Like when he clicks on your LinkedIn profile, have a good looking picture, have a good bio written, show your experience that you've got at Vitamix, and you know what I mean? Like from there, get that connection in, because that's where you can start bridging into, they always say you get hired based on relationships, not necessarily credentials. So that's where I would say that will quickly accelerate your 5 to 7 year requirement. That isn't necessarily the case. Right. Cool.
Right. Hey, Jeremy, I just want to thank you for everything, and I'm fangirling big time, and I'm looking forward to your CCNP content coming up here in April.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. I am myself. I'm actually in the midst of recording this. I'm doing a lot of the this stuff in the meanwhile while I'm building that. So Eric, I'm going to mute you, and then I'm going to grab William, if I can find him in this list. There we go. William, you are on. So tell me what's going on, William.
Hey, Jeremy, how's your day going so far?
It's going awesome. How about you? Where are you from, by the way?
I'm currently living in San Diego, California, but home to me will always be St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, cool. My wife is from Missouri, so I've been to St. Louis plenty of times, but at least you're in my time zone for now, anyway.
For now, yes.
For now. So what's going on with you?
No, what I wanted to talk about is an opportunity that a lot of people, and especially young people looking to get into the industry, specifically in networking or IT, often overlook. And I mentioned this in the chat, and Brian McCann said he started there as well. It was actually in the U.S. Army, military. There's plenty of MOSs, military occupational specialties, that are focused towards signal, which is more telecommunications and IT related, as well as the whole cybersecurity regimen. And it was a great experience for me. I happened to stumble across that by just sheer chance of what the options were in front of me for those jobs. And I fell in love with networking there. You started learning. The job I was doing was essentially, it was a mobile NOC essentially. So we'd set up routers and switches and user access case switches for people to have data and voice communication. So I learned routing and switching and CUCM and Unity all within a span of 6 months, and was able to get 4 years of on the job experience in some strange environments, get to play around in some of the most beautiful countries I've ever seen. And it's an opportunity for those who can do it that often get overlooked. And
And
not to
William,
mention the
let me
security
actually, I don't,
clearance.
let me interrupt you for just a second, because that is something that is huge that I didn't even think about. And so one of my favorite pictures. So you know, obviously doing CBT nuggets and a lot of the training I do, I get a lot of people that send me just like, hey, love what you're doing and all that. One of my favorite pictures, I still have it buried somewhere, is somebody sent me while they were in Iraq, someone in the US military. They were in Iraq. They literally set up a rack of equipment in a tank, and they were studying CCNA. They showed the little laptop where they had my CCNA video up while they were in a tank in Iraq. And I was like, this is hands down the coolest thing. So that's something I never even considered, is like, you know, when you give people advice, I'm usually talking to people that are getting out of the military, and they're like, hey, I was thinking I would get into technology, but I never even thought about going into the military for technology. See the country, get paid, learn tech, and get a huge foundation all right there. So my question for you, William, is when you go into the military, could you choose that path? Like, can you say, I want to go technology, or did you just end up there via luck of the draw?
Now, again, it was a luck of the draw for me because I just was looking for a way to pay for college
Mm-hmm.
that I never ended up needing because of the CCNA, networking, and skills and hard work.
Yeah.
However, certain branches do have different requirements of how they handle that. I chose the United States Army, in which you do get to choose your military occupational specialty based on your ASVAB test. It's an
Yeah.
assessment battery you take before you enter the United States military service that determines whether or not what skill sets they think you'll fit into and based on their job opening. I can't speak to terms in other services exactly. I know for the Army itself, it, they had openings for that particular MOS, which is 25 in for November, and it was the best lucky uh, guess I ever took on a job. I thought air conditioning and we're going to be in Afghanistan. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's excellent. And I will say, and William, by the way, just say yes. Just say you're ready, and I'll bring you in. But last thing I'll mention on military is it's not just. It's funny because I've always thought coming out, um, some of the best employees that I've hired are people that have had military backgrounds, hands down. Now there's some, you know, with every great thing, there's some drawbacks there too, but I will say there are a lot of people like me that know people that get out of the military are going to have focus, discipline, and they will get the job done, which is it. There are a lot of jobs waiting for you when you get out of the military if you do that. But I never thought about going in to intentionally get technical experience. Um, so let me. I saw Sam. So William, did you have any other things?
No, just want to mention that, and also looking forward to your CCNP material. And thank you for everything you've helped teach everybody.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you, William. And I'm going to grab Sam because and forgive me if I'm, Sam, Sam's there, just on the phone. So forgive me if I'm getting it out of order. I need to have somebody like moderate and things like that. But before I bring Sam on, I want to bring up one of the YouTube comments that I'm seeing over here. Someone mentioned, situation is I got my bachelor's degree back in 2011. I don't have relevant recent experience as a network technician. However, I love computer networks and made a career change back to IT in 2017. Got my CCNA in February, but I find it really difficult to apply for jobs because most of the openings ask for experience. Aldo, I would, and for anybody in Zoom who can speak to that, because that's the one I get all the time. I have my generic. So before I bring Sam on, Sam, you're up next. I have my generic answer I give for that. So I'll crispify Aldo's message there. Aldo's saying, I got my CCNA, but people want experience. How do I get experience? My generic answer for that is go volunteer. You know, go. You know, set up a network in your house, because that's the same as doing it in a business, just on a smaller scale. You know, go buy some equipment off eBay. Go go see if there's, at your current company, see if there's, opportunities to go help out the network team, things. So those are the kind of things that I say, but in reality, and I know that's worked for a lot of people because I've seen some people's, kind of life story as I've talked with them, but I don't have a good answer for that in terms of without starting over. How do you get that experience after you get your CCNA to partner together with that's what I'd love to hear from you. So Sam, let's bring you on. Sam, you are there, I think. Can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Sam from Canada. I hear you.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
No worries. This is fun.
So I have a background in electronics engineering, and I graduated in 1999. In 2000, I got my first job as an install manager for those self-checkouts. I was helping develop the back end of that. And in 2000, I did my MCP, MCSE, and I worked in various support roles, technical sales. And in 2007, I got my background in project management, which propelled me into more of the administrative roles, which I loved, enjoyed for the last 12 years, bidding and technical projects, RFPs, architecting some of the technology side solutions on our end so we can align ourselves and win those projects.
Right.
And that basically moved me up into a director level position. Now puts me into this predicament because I want to go back to hands-on. And I just finished the CCNA cutover for routing and switching, thanks to you. And
awesome.
I got my CCNA cyber ops. I still have my MCSC, MCP, and I love VoIP. But the tough time that I'm having right now is companies don't want to touch me because they say I'm overqualified because of my project management background. They don't want to give me a chance to get into doing hands-on tech, and even starting from the base, and learning my way up. I don't know what to do. I'm kind of like stuck in a hard place.
Yeah. So so if I could summarize it, it's almost as though you've become too good at your current job to, from what most people say is drop back down to just doing the tech, but your heart is sitting there like, I just want to do the tech. I don't I can do project.
Oh, I missed that.
Right. And I totally get that. So first off, I would say, I would ask, are you sure? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got a rack of equipment sitting behind me. I've got Astra server, open SIPs. I can do SIP load. I love VoIP, and I would love to just jump in. I want to even do my CCNP for collaboration.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what I need is to go to the professional level, and then they'll start to take notice.
Yep.
Because I know they don't want to touch me at the associate level.
Yep. And that's so two things, and I will wholeheartedly agree with you. Two things that I would say will help is, one, be sure that you're sure. And what I mean by that is, I know a lot of people that have gone that path. They've done the technology and they're kind of like, okay, I'm just kind of done with technology. Or they just get promoted to management and they do that for a while. And they're like, okay, I kind of just want to, and then they get back to the tech and they're like, oh, no, actually this, after like 5 months, they're like, I'm running back the other way. So if you're sure, which it sounds like you are, then you've nailed it. I would say you've got your CCNA. Now go after the new CCNP certification if you want to go network technology or some other technology certification, because that little spiff, for lack of a better word, on your resume and showing the date of like, hey, I'm now into the new tech, if you will be helpful, because I don't think your issue will be getting people to look at your resume. You're right. They're going to look and be like, wow, this guy's a stud. He's got this, and this. And they're going to be like, okay, has it been too long since he's done technology? What? So for a lot of HR people and a lot of employers, it's going to be like, does not compute. Like, what's wrong with Sam from Canada? You know what I mean? Like why would he want to go like the path is you go to where you are. Why would you? And they'd be like, something's wrong there. So if you show that you're getting credentials, and then the second thing I would say is to begin networking kind of with, kind of birds of a feather, if you will, that fly together. Like start connecting with people on LinkedIn who are in that, joining maybe a collaborative group. And again, I always go to LinkedIn just because it's got such a business focus, but there's a lot of like study groups and collaborative groups and thematic groups on there of people that are like, hey, we like doing engineering stuff. If you can join in there and kind of join in their conversations and kind of wield a heavy tech slant, you know what I mean? Like that will kind of like, you can build relationships online nowadays, and people will be like, hey, this, Sam is, he's looking to, so those are the kind of things that can really help there. But
my last question would be,
sure,
is it okay for me to dumb down my resume and just kind of dumb down my positions and titles and try to get in? I mean, it's really tough, and I don't know. It feels like I'm lying, and at the same time, I don't want to get into that predicament where they kind of catches up with me later on down the road.
Yeah. No. Well, and so this is where, sorry, my little microphone cord is pulling on my, and I'm losing it. This is where, so let me talk to you from my employer hat, wearing that. If I saw your resume coming across, I would think exactly what you're thinking I would. I would think two things. One, this guy's a project manager and he's applying for an engineering job. Like, what's wrong with that picture? But the second thing I would think is, okay, with the director level experience, the project manager experience, this guy's out of our league. He's gonna come in and ask for X hundreds of thousands of dollars. We don't, like, so yes, if I saw a resume that emphasized the tech experience and maybe dumbed down, like exactly what you're suggesting, I think that could open a door, because you would have one of the resumes. I mean, no offense, but I don't think I would even call. If I was looking for an engineer and I saw director level project manager, I'd be like, not that guy.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. No worries, Sam. Thanks for jumping on. So there, it's happening. I can't, I would actually, Brian, I see your little comment in there. Brian is from Intel. He is one of the hiring managers. He's saying I could jump on and talk about what I look for in candidates. Oh, maybe more towards the end. Brian, if you could hang out, that I think that would be hugely valuable for a lot of people. Matthew Summers, you're next up. So let me just so by the way, if you're on the YouTube stream, I see Jose there saying, hey, I'd love to jump on. You have to be on, Jose, you might be on both. And forgive me, I'm one man trying to manage too many things. So you need to be on Zoom to join the conversation. Otherwise, you can definitely hang out on the YouTube stream and jump on. So Matthew Summers, let me find you. Matthew Summers. Matthew. I think you're there. Perfect. Hey, finally someone else on video too that I can actually talk to face to face. Good to see you, Matthew. Where are you from?
Good to see you. I'm originally from Idaho. I'm currently in Salt Lake City. I actually started my tech journey back when I was in high school.
Awesome.
We had this really great high school curriculum. We stole it from the community college. So I got to learn all this tech stuff in high school, and my school district was really awesome. They said, hey, we have all these students who are learning IT. We need people to do stuff around the district.
Yeah.
So you get to do it.
So while you were in school taking classes, they essentially used you as free labor.
Exactly.
I love it.
It was kind of slave labor, but no, it was great experience. And I mean,
yeah. So you walk.
What a better time to work for free than when you're in high school, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's part of your school assignment, and you're getting a lot of the hands-on that you actually need. So it sounds like you had an awesome high school program to start off with. And by the way, I'm jotting all these things down just so I remember, because I'm planning to assemble all these things into kind of a compilation collage by the time it's done. So Matthew, you started amazing in high school. They used you. So essentially you got on the job experience in school because they used you to do projects for the district. So where did that
Exactly.
take you then?
So there was a local company. There was a guy that owned 4 car dealerships. He had 6 Subway sandwich stores, and he didn't want to spend a lot of money on his IT stuff. So he would hire either a college student, or in my case, he hired me while I was in high school to do his IT stuff.
Nice. So how did just in the evening, is that what you would do?
Yeah, after school, I'd go spend all the time in the summer. I did that through my senior year. So we had 1 year of limited use.
Yeah.
And then the following year, I had a lot more availability to him to really take on more and more.
Awesome.
And one of the cool things was this was right about the time they started rolling out the Subway Club cards. And this guy said, "Ooh, I'll test those."
Yeah.
There was no support from Subway for getting those working.
Nice. So it's up to you then to try and figure all that out.
And it was up to me. I was the sole IT guy.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
And then I got crazy and went, man, I don't want to live in this small town anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to move to Salt Lake where I'll get a great job and make a bunch of money. And I was young and didn't know how to write a good resume, so my resume really sucked.
Yeah.
I had the experience that I needed, but didn't really show it well.
Yeah.
And I wound up, my brother-in-law was doing card access security stuff, and he got me on with his company doing that.
Yeah.
I did that for 9 years. So I kind of fell out of a true IT role, but there was still plenty of IT. Everything was going network based.
Right.
Not to configure servers. So I was still in that realm.
Yeah.
And then I went and worked for HP for a while, doing the one thing that everybody probably swears, I'll never do that. I'll never work with printers.
Oh, you actually went the printer route. Nice.
I went to printers, and that was actually not as bad as I thought it would be.
I can't believe it. Like every time whenever I've gone to a company or even worked for a company and they've got those giant printers, I see the guy with his tools laid out and literally those things are taken apart to like the nuts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a miserable, but you're saying not a problem. I did it.
I supported the guys who had them apart. I didn't have to take them apart.
Got it. Okay, that's why
that probably would have been really miserable to be the guy taking it apart.
Right. So you went to HP, became a printer engineer, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
And is that where you're at now?
No, I'm actually working in a data center now. And in between there, I went for about a year doing digital certificate support.
Cool.
But that was just really miserable. That was on the phone and.
So like you're talking like SSL certificates?
Certificates, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, they did a lot of work for DoD and then doctors to send their digital prescriptions. They have to digitally sign it. So they use a certificate for that.
So to sum up your journey, Matthew, I would say yours is you're right. It is unique. It's like I'm into tech, I'm out of tech, sort of, but not really. You know, you kind of orbit around technology. You're in a data center now. Is that where you want to finish it? And you're like, I'm in the land of tech, or you're like, okay, now I want to continue on.
No, I'd like to get into like a network engineer or something. And I've got my CCNA now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. Everybody's looking for experience, and I've really had to try to explain, this is how my experience is for the last 20 years. I've been doing networking, just maybe not true full on complete networking, but I've been around that world for so long.
For sure. So in that data center position, are you like remote hands? Like what is the function? Like what do you do on a day-to-day?
So I work in the healthcare industry. So the hospital I work for goes across the entire state of Utah. They have a hospital in Idaho, just bought a hospital group in Nevada.
Yeah.
So I monitor every piece of data equipment across the entire network.
Yeah.
And it's my job to make sure that everything stays up, that it's at the right temperature. And when things happen, I have to.
Got it. So you've
got
the right
people
a tremendous
in place.
Monitoring system that you're just, I mean, so in a way you are in the realm of networking. It's just now you're like, okay, I'm ready to start building the networks. I'm ready to start troubleshooting the networks. I'm ready to start like, oh, it sensor's red. How do I become that guy that now figures out and fixes what's going on?
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. I would say the number one route I would head. I mean, you've got your CCNA, you've got the credentials to get started at least with that. What's it like within the data center hierarchy of the teams? I mean, do you have access to the engineers? Is there job postings and
yeah, I've talked to them, and I thought I was going to get this position, and then they went with somebody else. So and I haven't had a chance to connect with a manager for that particular one to say, hey, what happened?
Yeah.
What did the other guy have that I didn't? How do I?
Well, first off, I would honestly make that a big priority, because I would say at data centers, typically there's a decent turnover because it can be hard to work in that environment. It's 24/7 uptime. You know, it can be hard. Having that conversation with that interviewing manager, I think that would show, hey, I'm here, I'm interested. Like, and sometimes those could turn into like oh, well, you know what? We need, another or something like that.
Yeah.
And it could also tell you like, what did he have that I didn't, and obviously some grace around the conversation. So it doesn't sound like you're being a jerk or anything like that, but yeah, it's a very valid question. Yeah. That would be the starting point. But because of your data center experience, you now have some notches in your belt that a lot of people don't. If that hits walls, I'm always about like, go internal before you go outside. But that's where I would start looking around. I mean, data centers everywhere, Amazon, obviously with AWS and et cetera. But data centers, private data centers are booming, which is a surprise with the public cloud revolution. But I would start jumping around there and just saying, hey, got a CCNA, and I'm curious. And by the way, I was just looking at YouTube as well. And this is the part I'm trying to figure out. I would love to have. I'm sure that with 83 folks on YouTube, 43 folks on Zoom, I'm sure somebody's like, I know what I would do in that situation. So I would love to hear it chatted in. Like Andrew is saying, you might also check with the HR department at your company and just say, hey, I'm looking for this. What's the best way to get into a role like that? Those kind of things would be good. And then you would have a leg up on most data center candidates at other data centers too.
Yeah. I'm in the land of data centers, so I can throw a stick and hit one from my house even.
You and me both, brother. Arizona and Utah, the land of non-natural disasters. So lots of data centers are around here too. Cool. Well, Matthew, super great to talk with you. And let me jump into the queue and see what other folks are saying. So Alex, work at Cisco. Okay, great. How do you get an internship? Ivan's asking. Love the Zoom meeting. We do the same thing. So how about we do this? Do this for me. So this will actually work well. There's hands, and I actually see two of them. I'm going to make the assumption that those hands are people that are wanting to talk. So if you're not, sorry. I'm going to take Panshay and bring Panshay on. Panshay, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Oh, perfect. Panshay, welcome. Where are you from?
I'm from Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. Welcome. What time is it in Zimbabwe?
Let me just. It's currently 11:45.
11:45 in the afternoon. At night. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, it doesn't look light where you are. Good. Well, tell me what's on your mind.
So I recently finished my CCNA. just before said apocalypse, but now I'm looking for a job. And the thing is, here we don't really have a lot of companies in IT, and the job postings really want like someone with at least 5 years experience. I know that I can get through that, but then it's like really, really tough for me to get a position. It's like our economy is bad and all of that as well.
Yeah. So first off, remember that a company in IT, like all companies will be in IT. You can't be a company if you don't have some kind of technology infrastructure. So, and I know you know that, but I just want to make sure you're not pigeonholing to say, I need to work for a data center or an MSP or something that where the company is like, we do IT, like Nabisco Fig Newtons, they'll have an IT division. So Zimbabwe, and obviously you're outside of the world I know. What kind of things have you tried? What I'm curious, what have you tried? Have you found anything that has started to work and maybe didn't, or is it you're just like, what have you started to try?
Okay, so I got a job offer for an IT support role, but then that fizzled out, and I'm also doing cybersecurity. And I got a job offer recently, but also that fizzled out. So it's kind of those like they'll give you an offer and then like backtrack a couple of days or weeks later.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have your CCNA. How long ago did you get it?
On the 14th of February.
Okay, good. Well, congratulations.
Yes.
So you've got a CCNA. You don't have experience. So we're back into my I can throw out my generic recommendations again, but big picture, I would say apply without regard. Sometimes what I find, and when I say without regard, what I mean is just like your day, and I'm not sure if you have a job right now, but your day should be like 50% applying for jobs, 50%, responding to those, and maybe studying for other things as well, seeing where the demand is. So sometimes I find that there are people that know what they're doing. They have the knowledge, and they even have the experience. Oftentimes it's hard to get a CCNA without labbing it up and setting things up and, trying and doing that. So you've got at least that experience. Sometimes it's just getting the right, I'll say soft skills to where, how do I interview well? What is, and those are the things that I could rattle off a list all day of like, these are things that you should be good at, but the only way you get those is by trying it and be like, oh, okay, that didn't work at all. Oh, okay, that didn't work. Oh, that kind of worked. That got me to the second interview. Like it's those are the things like, how do I dress? How do I talk? How do I sound? How do I present? How do I present my experience? Or my technical knowledge? Like those are the kind of things that sometimes you just have to get experience by putting yourself in that situation. And that would be. It's giving me an idea for another live stream. It would be fun to do like where, again, I've interviewed a ton of people to where I could almost emulate kind of like what you were saying, Brian McCann. I could emulate a hiring manager, and I could have like the next group of people would be like, hey, I'm interviewing for your position. I could literally interview somebody just as if I were interviewing them in the real world and see how people do, and then give feedback. That'd be fun. So
yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah. So that's what I would suggest on that. Cool. And I'm sure other people.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. It's great to have you. So let me. I'm gonna lower your hand for you. Ta-da. Ivan, I'm gonna bring you on. Ivan, are you there?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Perfect. Welcome back. Sorry, I was just started going through you're like, oh, run back. So I'm just going through the raised hands list. You were next up in the list. So Ivan, where are you from?
Seattle.
Seattle. Awesome.
Seattle.
Awesome. The land of rain and depression. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
It's always cloudy there, but I went there for my 1-year anniversary with my wife. Some of the most beautiful country I've ever been to. So
It's actually sunny right now.
hey, and ironically, I'm here in Arizona, the land of sun, and we literally have been pouring rain for the last 2 days. So nonetheless, we've switched roles. Well, what's going on? What's on your mind?
Well, my question is, so I'm about to graduate in August with associates in network engineering, and it's pretty much impossible to find an internship. And to get my diploma, I need like 165 hours of internship. And I've been like, what do I need to do? Do I need to get the CCNA? Do I just need to keep applying? Do you have any suggestions?
That's a good question. So the college, do they have any, like, usually if a college is like, you need 160 hours, they'll have this list of companies that are doing, do they give you anything?
Yeah, usually they send like every other month or so, they send like about 1 or 2 companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I've applied to all of them, but I haven't got any responses yet.
So like
It
no
might be
responses
early.
at all, not even an interview. They're just like, yeah, you don't exist to me.
Yes.
Oh,
It could be my resume. I'm not sure.
Sure, but I would think if somebody's applying for an internship. So ideas that I would have. One, I would look for cabling companies. The reason I say that is because there are a lot of cabling companies out there that are just looking, because cabling is how a lot of people get started, and that is something that is it's just work. I mean, it's kind of fun when you do it for a while until you do it for too long. But it's just work. It's like, okay, you go over there. We're passing a bundle of cable through. So a lot of times they would jump on an internship for cabling. And if you've learned a bunch about network engineering, that you can be in situations where there's literally a stack of network equipment, and you could be like, hey, I could do something with this. Who configures all this? So I would look for cabling internships or force a cabling internship. Like look at the job boards, look at the companies, and find them by becoming a customer. To where when I say becoming a customer, I mean like go on Google and be like Seattle cabling companies, there's my list. And I'm going to sound like a LinkedIn salesman. I have no affiliation with LinkedIn whatsoever, but the reason I say that is LinkedIn has opened the doors of every company to everybody. There's been times where like, for instance, just a couple months ago, moved into a new place. I found a home security system. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And I was like, I wonder if I can make a video about this. I go on LinkedIn and I find the CEO of this company who makes this alarm system. And I'm like, hey, just curious, I would love to make a video. And like before long, I'm chatting with the CEO of a company, that years ago would have never been like, you're going through 50 layers of, it's just, it opens the door. So find these cabling companies, start reaching out. If you can't get to them through the front door, the phone, giving them a call,
Okay.
then start using the back door of LinkedIn. So the other place I would intern is actually where Matthew mentioned a while ago, data centers. A lot of times you'll have the data center itself, which will have opportunities, and they'll do internships for things like remote hands, where, and you know what that is. Like it's 2 a.m, somebody's like, cable came unplugged, and you're the guy that comes and makes sure it's plugged in and all that. But also within a data center, there's companies that live in the data center, like they do co-hosting and things like that, and those will often have a lot of internship. It's a lot of getting started, but beyond that, I would start looking at help desk. Again, help desk roles, and at that point, it's no longer an internship. It's actually like here's a job that can get you started. I'm curious. So And I'm trying to think as well. I would love to have other people jump on in a lot of these conversations. Well, so here's this live stream. I didn't know how it would go. And sorry, Ivan, back to you in a second. I didn't know how it would go. I don't. So one of the things I would love to do is turn it collaborative. It's almost like have other people jump on and offer their advice as well, because again, it's been a long time since I went to ASU for a degree in computer science. Like in the world back then was 20 years ago. A lot has changed. So I know there's a lot of other people out there that could speak into this a lot more. So anyway, so if you think of something that I could do to, I think I can have multiple people on at a time. I just don't know how to identify those people. So we'll have to go. So Ivan, did that help? Is there any other thoughts?
How valuable do you think is college education? Like I'm like questioning if I should drop out every day and just, maybe get a Ccna, because obviously I'm preparing for it, and just try to get into the job field, or I should just wait like another 2 quarters. That's pretty much what I have left.
Sure. So what you're going to get from me on that question is extraordinarily opinionated, and totally one side. So I went to college at ASU for a degree in computer science. So that's my background. I've been there, done that. I know that world. And what I'm about to say is not saying that college is not valuable. It is. Education is valuable. But in today's world, I usually will tell people if they're like, should I go for college or should I go for this? I'm kind of like, well, what do you plan to do with the college that you're going after? Like, and if I don't hear a good, like a lot of people, so most people go to college because it's just high school's over and that's what you're supposed to do. And those are the ones I want to grab and shake and be like, don't do it. They're like, there's so many other ways that don't land you in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to jump into a career in technology. So don't hear me say, Ivan, that I'm like, stop college. Because I don't know how far in you are. I don't know, like if you're seeing a lot of value coming from it, but I would say there's a lot of other ways, a lot of other ways that you can excel so much faster without a huge amount of debt in the technology space, and certifications open the door to a lot of those ways. So take that for what it is. And that could be a Network Chuck. I know someone else mentioned him. He and I usually will get on calls and we just go off on college and just because it's turned into a lot of a business rather than the real goal that it was there for, which is to help people. And so that's, I'm like, so nonetheless, without stepping too far on a soapbox, that's where I'm at with that. Cool.
Yes, sir. All
right. So I see there's a bunch of other folks on. So Ivan, thanks a bunch. I'm going to I want to grab Brian. So Brian, if you're there, hopefully you're ready. I'm going to bring Brian on. Brian is an old friend of mine, and he and I actually used to teach together in a classroom in Phoenix a long time ago. He went the direction of Intel. I went the direction of online learning. And now Brian is jumping on. He is one of the hiring managers, or has been a hiring manager at Intel. Brian, you were mentioning you could tell a lot of people like what you look for, how you interview when you're looking to hire. You there?
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Brother.
All right. What's going on, buddy? So like Jeremy said, right, I've worked at Intel now for like the last 14 years. A little bit about my background. I'm an old school Active Directory guy. I work in security now, in information security. But yeah, I've hired plenty of people at Intel. And I want to actually go to Ivan's question about college. And I thought I heard you said you only had about 2 quarters left. Stay in. If you're that close to graduating, stay in. Because for some companies, especially a company like Intel or Microsoft or Boeing, kind of where you're at, right? They do look at that degree and it gets you past that initial HR person. But it's not a be all end all. Okay. I think experience in my experience hiring, experience of the individual is most important, and just that person in general. But first thing you got to do, I think, is get noticed. And so in your resume, or don't just have a single resume, have multiple resumes. Fill it with those keywords that they're looking for in that job. So don't be afraid to modify it. Don't be afraid to tailor it, because guess what? Your job and your current job, I guarantee you, you do more than one thing. You probably have a whole plethora of things that you do. So you can't fit it all in your resume, and you don't want to turn in a 20-page resume either. So tailor that resume for the role that you're applying. The next thing, I'll tell you what I do is, when the resume comes in front of me, I look that person up. I'm a cyber stalker. I'm not kidding. I'm going to go to your LinkedIn. I'm going to go to your Facebook. I'm going to go to your Twitter. I'm going to see if you're on MySpace still. Okay. I'm going to find you, and I want to learn about you as a person. I want to see what you have, especially like Jeremy said, LinkedIn is a great tool. But I'll tell you, for someone like me, if you go to my LinkedIn, I don't put a lot of details on my LinkedIn, and that's because of who I work with, right? We don't want to give away too much of what we do. Other companies are more free with that, but there's still things that you can find out about that person who's applying for the job. So, be social, get on Twitter, right? Joined a community, an online community, write some articles, make some videos. Jeremy and I did this stuff all a long time ago, before any of this stuff, before the day and age that we're in today. It's crazy, right? And this is before any of anybody knew who Jeremy was. He was doing those kind of things. And so share your knowledge. That is so important for me. And hiring somebody, I want somebody who's in it for the team, not in it for themselves.
Okay, Brian. So first off, like, you're golden, my friend. It's so good. I get it. So thank you for jumping on. So what do you say to the person who's like, well, I don't, when you say share your knowledge, someone's like, well, like, what do I share? Yeah. How do I do that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I know anything.
Yeah. So LinkedIn, again, another perfect tool that you can use to post things. It's, think about it. It's the professional Facebook, if you will. Mm-hmm. Don't think that you have to be that person who only does super technical stuff. If you know how to do some basic scripting, how to automate some stuff, put it on there, right? Have your peers and your colleagues see that, share it, like it. And it can be very simple stuff. Seriously. I mean, I go back to my experience in Active Directory. I'm going to show how I can use PowerShell to automate creating a user account, something as simple as that, or checking to see if an account has expired. Little nuggets, if you will, of information that have helped you out, that could help out the community as well. Is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. And that I think, so that's one of the things that I think is huge. And so first off, I'm going to echo your advice to Ivan, which is, if I didn't hear how far along he was, based on how far along you are, get it done. It's almost like you've already come that far. Finish it off. So the other thing is, you can build yourself. So and I don't even know if a lot of you know this. You can go on LinkedIn and just post an article.
Yep.
And I guarantee you, if you've never done that before and you post an article, unless it's amazing, you're probably not going to get anything. Like, it's just you're gonna be like, well, that was a waste of time. Yeah. No, it wasn't. You keep doing it. So for instance, as you're studying CCNA, that's one of the topics that a lot of people brought up. As you're studying CCNA, you're going to learn how to set up a VLAN on a switch. Write an article. What's a VLAN? Like, are you one of a million articles out there on what's a VLAN? Yeah. But you know what? When you apply to a job and you have a cyber stalker like Brian coming after you, and they're like, who is this guy? And they click on you, and you've got 100 articles. That's like, oh, what about this? And here's a config snippet. Here's in a video where I explain. And again, go with the medium that you're comfortable with. Obviously, Brian, comfortable with video. It's stuff that we've done our whole lives. Maybe you're more comfortable writing. Maybe you're more comfortable just recording something. Maybe, like, I've seen a ton of demos where there's no audio at all. They just put a music track on it and they show, here's how you configure a such and such. You can build your identity so that when you do apply and so Brian, you get a resume, you're like, okay, who's Ivan, for example. You become the cyber stalker, you go on LinkedIn and you look at Ivan, and it's either like, I graduated high school, I'm in college.
Yep.
Or it's Ivan, you just are the last one to talk, so I'm not picking on you. Or it's Ivan and there's like 50 articles on like, oh, and I've done this. I'm kind of answering the question for you. It's like, which Ivan are you going to call? It's probably the guy with all the experience.
Yeah. And so, hey, Jeremy, the next thing I want to talk about is the interview. And you've interviewed people, so you can attest to this, right? When I interview someone, this happens so much. People talk about what we did. We did this and we did that. I don't want to hear about what we did. I want to hear about what Jeremy did. What did you do to help this be successful? So make sure you have specific examples that say what you did, what you contributed to that specific project. Because I'm hiring you, I'm not hiring the team you came from. So be careful with the words, right? What you did. And then the next thing is in your answers, make sure that you demonstrate the behaviors that they're looking for. If they ask you, hey, have you ever designed a network? Don't say yes, right? Go into details about what you did. Talk about the tools that you used to do that. Talk about the people, the different groups that you had to engage with, the different stakeholders. If there was a budget, what that budget was. What that does is it proves to the person that's interviewing you that you really did this and that you're not just making it up, right? And so that's, as an interviewee or an interviewer, I can tell immediately if someone's BSing me or not. I really can, because they're very generic. If you give me specifics and you talked about how that worked and that, how you did that, I now feel more comfortable that behavior, even if it's not exactly the same, right? I think someone came on earlier and talked about project management. Even that, certain skills cross over, right? And you can bring those skills in and that expertise into the question that the interviewer is asking. So make sure you have those. I call them stories. They're truths, though. They're your truths, right? Make sure you have those stories in your mind. And you, again, just like with your resume, you're going to mold that story, telling the truth, obviously, into whatever the question was. You want to answer it with your story.
So, Brian, let me ask you this. So, and I know a lot of people here are just getting started. Not everybody. I'm looking at a lot of faces, a lot of folks. They don't have experience. So have you ever interviewed somebody that doesn't have the experience? Tell me, and how did someone shine? I mean, there's some where you're like, okay, well, obviously you're not a fit for this position, but
absolutely.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So, obviously, let's say I'm hiring for a senior engineer. The person has to have experience, but if I'm hiring for a junior engineer and this got brought up earlier, I think it was in the chat. Someone said, oh, they're looking for, 5 years experience. Trust me, that's the dream unicorn candidate that they're just not going to get. Okay.
I told them it's a lie. It's a lie.
Yeah. They just put it in there. And usually it's HR. I'm going to blame HR, right? Everyone does. But what you want to do here is talk about, again, you don't have experience. That's okay. Were you a Boy Scout? Were you a Girl Scout? Were you active in your community, in your church, volunteering, whatever it is? Again, you can take those experiences of working with people and technology that weren't directly related to a paying job and still demonstrate the behavior that the person is looking for.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing you say is be an awesome person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And right. And then, Phil, so I'll jump in as the interviews that I've done. And we should, Brian, you and I should do one of these just dedicated to interview tactics. That would be fun. But most of the time if somebody comes in and they're posing to be ultra technical, I will get them to the point where so essentially at that point, I'm like, I just want you to say, I don't know. Like I'll start asking questions because I want to see, once I back them so far into a corner, and this sounds so mean, but you back somebody so far into the corner, you want to see if they're going to just make something up and try and see if they can float it over your head, or are they going to humble themselves and be like, I don't know. I've never done that before. Like,
and that is totally fine, by the way. It is okay to not know the answer. Don't fumble your way through it. Don't make it up. If you don't know, you don't know. I'm happy with that answer. Yeah,
100% as well. 100, like way more happy than somebody who's like, well, you know, it's probably a solar flare. Picked one from our past right there. So I don't feel like you have to have all the answers in that case. Focus more so on, can I convey, just like Brian was saying, that I can hold a conversation with somebody, that I'm not afraid to try or take a step out. So it's good. Anything else rattling around your mind that you can throw out there? I know we're a little beyond the top of the hour, but anything else that you're thinking about?
I'm actually, you know what I'm doing? I'm actually just watching Ivan's video because he's walking right now and in the stream. It's pretty amazing. So that's pretty awesome, I think. This is technology today.
I know.
And it is, look, there's some clouds, but I do see some blue skies in Seattle, which is pretty cool.
There you go. There you go. Cool.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Brian, super great to have you. It's so good to see you again. It's been too long. And now I can't see you on here. I don't know how to.
I'm on. Yeah, it's alphabetical.
There we go. There we go. You're muted. Cool. So we are a little bit past the top of the hour. Tons of great discussion in this. It's a Zoom conference, but it's also streamed on YouTube. So it'll be there for you to review and things like that. I'd love to hear in the comments afterwards, what else would you guys like to know? Like this was my first step into like let's collaborate and just talk. It didn't go exactly how I hoped. I was hoping that I could get a whole bunch of people on, but I'll have to figure out. I should have thought further ahead in the logistics of how I would do that before just thinking that'll be great. So let's end this live stream here, and chat in the little comments. What else would you like to know? Because again, I'm still staring at you, Brian. With Brian and I, we've been doing this for decades. So a lot of times I always call it the curse of knowledge. Once you know how to do stuff, it's so hard to unpack, how did I do that? Because it's like when you talk to your kids and be like, you just mow the lawn. You think of all, you forget all of the nuance. So would love as many questions as you can put in the comments. That will spur on the next step in this journey. But for now, thank you guys. Good to hang out with you for an hour. Talk soon.